To me, the Tibetan sky burial is one of the most elegant in the world. Um, it's really how I would like my mortal remains to be done. And I don't know if they still practice this in Tibet, but traditionally, what they would do, they would light juniper branches. It's kind of like a Pavlovian response for the vultures. And when the vultures would smell the juniper smoke rising, they would come and they would settle around the person and they would take in this case, she's taking a hammer and actually breaking up the bones. Before that, they chop the body up with a cleaver into like bite-sized chunks, and the vultures actually gather around this person and they throw them chunks of flesh. And then when the last bird flies, they believe the spirit is released. And there's no graves, there's no, it's all goes right back into the system. The Plains Indians had a very similar thing where they would put the dead body on scaffolds and they would leave them there and let the birds and worms and stuff do their work. And then they would come back and collect the bones and then put them in crevices in the rocks. Um, Cremation is quite popular. I think it might be one of the leading ways people deal with death and bodies in America today. I remember my dad was very opposed to such things. I don't think he was by the time he passed, but growing up, traditionally, only you would say in the Bible, only wicked people were burned, and or it's something pagans did, right? Like Vikings or Celts, or in certain Asian cultures, they would have great funeral pyres where they would bury their dead. And I think my dad, with his tradition and an understanding, wanted a more traditional Christian burial. And this is our traditional American, right? Where we don't mummify our bodies, but often we'll fill them with formaldehyde. We'll remove the blood. We'll try to make the body look presentable. This is going out of vogue. It seems right now the only people I see with open caskets are usually from the generation before me. Um, has anyone seen a younger person open casket recently? And then the last picture I put there was innovative new ways people are thinking about, like, why burn the body? Why not bury your body and let it be the source for a tree? And it's so interesting that that's like this progressive forward thinking, but that's how my people buried the dead, the Celts. The graveyards were orchards because each grave had a fruit tree placed upon it where your you could go and visit grandma or grandpa and eat from the tree that was growing out of their grave and connect with them in a very physical and spiritual way. And the reason I brought all this up is if you're doing death and dying counseling with someone, it would be really good to know what the burial practices and beliefs of the afterlife are for that person. Because it's going to be wildly different, right? On, do we want to prolong our loved one's life? If you're talking about hospice care or end of life treatment, or if you have hope of resurrection and a new body and a new life, you might have a very different view than someone who believes like, no, I'm just going to come back and start over again, or maybe a non-religious person who believes they are their body, and when their body is done, so are they. And you can imagine that would be very different counseling than someone had the hope of an afterlife or continuing on. So I hope that I I have more, but we're already at 7:50, and the next place I was going to go was religion. And imagine the double layer of culture and then religion on top of it, and how that's going to affect all of the things we talked about tonight. And so, once again, thanks so much for having me. And man, that went quick for me, anyways. I could talk about this for a long time. And hopefully they'll let me do another series soon. I'd love to do a whole series on religion for you or ethics or I think I am going to be working with Rhombus and help them develop a biblical Christian worldview course. Um, I was talking to Julie and she mentioned a lot, even though it is a Bible-based counseling program at Rhombus, she said a lot of people don't have a lot of background or they might be new believers or new to the faith. And so this course I'm developing, it's kind of like, it's like introducing someone to a different world. Like if you weren't a Christian or you came in like, what is all this stuff? Why are these all these different translations and denominations and viewpoints? And I think it's super helpful. And it's more a class where I'm going to give people tools than actually trying to teach them the Bible like a Bible class, but more an orientation class to welcome to the Christian world. And this is what it looks like. And I'm shooting for a high what the Christian world is, not what is a Catholic world or a Mormon world or a Baptist world or a Lutheran world. I want to talk what all people professing Christ should be able to agree is a Christian world. And then we can get into the particulars and flavors from there. All right. Any closing questions or comments?